Dark Artisan here, and we're going to be playing a 1850 game of Necrons versus Dark Eldar. And this is the table today. We have a Dark Eldar webway portal in the centre, coming up on a Necron Resurrection Orb. We will be playing Maelstrom. We haven't rolled for deployment or game type yet, but we have the 6 objectives: number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5's down here, and number 6 in the rubble over there. I'll get back to you with the armies shortly. So here's Josh's 1850 Necron army, and he's going to talk you through it now. What have you got here, Josh?
Okay, so for my Warlord today, I've got Oricon the Diviner. Not the correct model, because I do not possess it, but I'm hoping he is an acceptable proxy. He's leading 5 Lich Guard with Hyperphase Sword and Dispersion Shields. I have 3 squads of 10 Necron Warriors, no other upgrades. As heavy support, I have a Monolith and 2 Annihilation Barges. And then I also have 2 formations. A Deathbringer Flight of 2 Doom Scythes, as per the Necron Codex. And I have a Conclave of the Burning One from the Exterminatus book.
Can you just briefly tell us how nasty this is?
This is a very, very nasty formation. With the God Shackle and the Veil of Darkness, he can teleport across the board in 1 turn, and between them they have 8 wounds at toughness 8 with 4+ armor, 4+ invulnerable, and 5 steel and pain in the case of the shard, and then 4+ resurrection in the form of the Cryptex.
Nasty.
Very nasty.
Right, thanks very much. Right, so here is my Dark Eldar force. I'll start over here with the HQ. We have a Succubus with the Armour of Misery and the Animus Vitae. The Clavix is on her left with 3 Incubi behind them, and a Venom with 2 Splinter Cannons. We've then got 10 Warriors here, apart from the Dark Lancers being proxied as a Splinter Cannon, and they have a Raider with Splinter Axe, Ethereal Sails, and Night Shields, of course. The second Raider next to them also has the same, with another 10 Warriors with a Splinter Cannon in. We have the 5 Scourge here. The one in the centre with the Splinter Cannon is just going to be a basic Shard Carbine. There is 4 others there with Dark Lance, Heat Lance, and 2 Haywire Blasters. However, for today's game they are all Haywire Blasters. I then have 9 Reaver Jet Bikes, 3 with cluster caltrops, and to identify the cluster caltrop ones, it'll be the ones with the skulls on the blades. And the one here, the one with the pink highlights, is the Arena Champion. I'm also taking the Grotesquerie formation from the Homunculus Coven's book, and that is Yuri and Rakarth coming out to play today. And at the back we have a Ravager, Night Shields, and 3 Dark Lancers. We then have a Forge World Reaper with the Reaper Cannon. Again, that has Night Shields as well. And then we have a Void Raven with a Bomb and 2 Void Lancers, and a Razor Wing with, I think they are Necrotoxin missiles, the free ones, 2 Dark Lancers, and a Splinter Cannon. So me and Josh is going to roll Warlord traits, deployment, and game type, and we'll get back to you after the deployment. So we've rolled for the mission, and it is Deadlock, which means that we generate 6 objectives turn 1, 5 turn 2, and so forth. And it is, I believe it's Vanguard deployment. So Josh won the roll off, which means he's deploying first. So we've got these 10 warriors here, the Monolith right in the middle, another 10 warriors in cover holding our objective, another 10 there ready to take that one. These 2 barges, these warlords there, and the lovely Catan Bomb is hiding behind here, and he has his flies in reserve. I, on the other hand, have chosen to deploy the Grotesquerie and the Reavers, nicely out of line of sight, I hope. A few things to note. Josh, what was your warlord trait?
Eternal Warrior.
So no instant death in the Warlord, which is fine as I don't have a lot that can do it other than a couple of poison things on the Grotesques. I actually rolled on the combat drugs and I got Serpentine, which was +1 weapon skill for the Reavers, so hopefully they'll be hitting on 3s most of the time now. For the grotesquerie, I rolled shred, which is nice. Hopefully get a few more wounds on that. My warlord trait was labyrinthine cunning, which means I can roll to seize the initiative, re-roll, sorry. I can re-roll night fighting, and I can also re-roll reserves, hence the minimal deployment. So we'll come back to you after whoever ends up going first after seize the initiative. So, end of Necron turn 1, I chose not to try and seize the initiative. I did, however, get night fighting. These are the cards that Josh pulled. So he pulled Dust and Ashes. He's nominated his Warlord for that one, so he knows where he's keeping for turn 6. It's got to be behind enemy lines. Don't think he's going to be able to manage to get 3 behind, but we shall see what happens. He's got Ascendancy, Secure Objective 4 twice, and Secure Objective 3. So if we have a look, it was pretty much on Objective 4 anyway. And Objective 3 was this one here, so depending on where he does, it might be possible. So he's basically shuffled everything up, moved the barges forward, the monolith, and his warlord decided to disembark from the monolith and straight out front there. These warriors over here, he decided he was going to make a run for that table edge and see if he could get that behind enemy lines. However, he decided to teleport these. Now we originally went here to try and take out the Reavers, but unfortunately scattered 12 inches back here. So I'm guessing that they are going for the grotesquerie. So let's see what happens in the shooting phase. Right, so welcome back after the end of the shooting phase. The Catan Shard decided to use its passive ability, which is essentially Psychic Shriek. I think it's called, is it Gaze of Death? Gaze of Death on the grotesquerie, and I think Josh rolled a 3, 2 and a 1, which means no wounds for me, thankfully. He then rolled on his random power table, and which one did you get, Josh?
Antimatter Meteor.
Which is basically a large pie plate, and he dropped them on here. He needed 2s to wound. However, I decided to jink, which converts 3+. As it's night fighting, it meant I got a 2-up jink, and I only lost 1. So, thankful for that. Moving on to Dark Eldar turn 1. Very quickly, just come back to the cards before we move on to Dark Eldar turn. Josh actually scores behind enemy lines, Secure Objective 4 twice, Secure Objective 3, and D3 for Ascendancy. Do you want to roll a dice for D3, Josh? 1. So that is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points in turn 1 for Josh. Dark Eldar turn 1, and I'm instantly regretting putting so much in reserve. Secure Objective 5 and 3. Hold the line, which is keep 3 of my units behind my deployment zone with none of your opponents. So yeah, that's going to be hard. Psychological warfare, yeah. Necrons leadership 10, probably not. Assassinate, kill an independent character, 1 character, sorry. Impossible, we'll see what happens. Take them alive, destroy something in the assault phase. So yeah, not good cards as opposed to Josh's. So what I've done is the grotesquerie got a poor move through cover roll of a 2, and I'm going to try and hopefully at least top hit the shard. Hopefully they can at least damage it a little bit. And the Reavers are coming over here. I think what I'm going to do is probably assault and hopefully hit and run out back to Objective 5. Objective 3 is there. It was going to be a risky move putting the grotesquerie up there with so much firepower facing them. I decided against that, and I thought I'd rather try and get rid of the shard bomb. So I'm probably just going to do the shooting and assault all in one go, as I don't have much on the table, so I'll come back to you after that. So after the assault phase, this has happened. We haven't rolled for any wounds or anything yet. The Reavers rapid fired at the Catan, got 3 hits, 1 wound, and Josh actually managed to fail his save and his feel no pain. So the Catan actually took a wound to snap shooting splinter rifles. The Grots actually charged first and suffered a wound, however feel no pain saved it. The Catan Shard has actually issued a challenge to Urian, and I decided to not accept it, but instead I accepted it with the Aberration instead. So we'll see what happens with all the Hammer Wraths from the Caltrops and whatever else goes on, and we'll get back to you at the end of the assault phase. So this is how things stand after the assault phase. The Reavers did hit and run out afterwards, but the 3 Custer Caltrops rolled a 11 and got a couple of Wrens and did 3 wounds. So one of the, is it a Cryptek? Cryptek was dead and the other one's down to 1 wound. All of the Grots and Urian, despite having all poisoned weapons and wounding on a 4, did nothing. The Aberration and the Catan Shard, nothing. So yeah, I hit and run out and I went back to objective 5 to try and get that. So looking at my cards over here, I got Assassinate for killing an enemy character, and I get secure objective 5, so it's only 2 points for me. In relation to these points here, I think I'm probably going to discard Psychological Warfare due to Necron Leadership 10 and the Catans being fearless. Just a quick note as well in relation to the Grotesquerie, as they are fearless because of Urian's ability to give +1 to power from pain, they are basically stuck in combat, which I don't mind. It means you can't really go after too much else at the moment. We'll get back to you now after Necron turn 2. So Necron turn 2, Josh has kept Dust and Ashes. He's got Psychological Warfare there, and because Dark Eldar aren't fearless yet apart from the Grotesquerie, I think he's going to go for that one. Blood and Guts, destroy something in the assault phase. Well, we're in assault, so we can see what happens. Secure objective 5, which I currently hold. And he got Scour the Skies, which he can get, obviously, because I do have 2 flyers. He did roll for his reserves and for his flyers, and he got Snake Eyes, so unfortunately no reserves. For movement phase, these warriors shuffled up a little bit. His Warlord shuffled up. Monolith shuffled up a little bit as well. The barge there pivoted. These warriors have shuffled forward just to have a nice view of the Reavers over there. And that barge also pivoted. So we shall see what happens in the shooting phase. I think he's going to make the Reavers try and take a leadership test. We'll get back to you after shooting. So, end of Necron shooting, turn 2. This barge, 5 warriors, the Monolith, and this barge, despite both barges hitting and wounding on all 6 shots, and the Monolith dropping a pie plate on them, the Reavers are still alive, and because of the Arena Champion, Leadership 9 managed to pass the morale check. So that's Josh not getting Psychological Warfare. The Shard used his passive ability and he rolled a 10 on the Grotesquerie. Urian being Leadership 9 meant that he inflicted 1 wound on a Grotesque, and unfortunately he regains that wound as he inflicted it. So we'll see what happens in the assault phase. So end of the assault phase, and this has happened. It was pretty epic. The Grots with their poisoned and instant death wounds managed to kill the remaining Cryptek, and 2 wounds spilled over into the challenge and took the Shard down to 2 wounds. The Aberration there with their 4 attacks actually managed to wound twice on the Shard, and because the Shard had no feel no pain remaining because the Cryptek's dying, he died himself. He did get 1 wound back in the Aberration. Well, he got 2 where I passed 1 feel no pain. The Shard exploded 3 inches and did another wound on this Grotesque here. One thing just to note as well, I didn't mention in the shooting phase, the Reavers that were just over there were actually within 12 inches of Urian, which meant they got their 5+ feel no pain for it, even though it's only turn 2. So we'll get back to you after I've done Dark Eldar movement phase turn 2. Just a very quick note as well, the Grotesque consolidated 1 inch, and Josh decided to discard the card Psychological Warfare due to these being fearless, and obviously Dark Eldar become fearless on turn 5. Turn 4 if they're within 12 inches of Urian, so he decided not to go for that. So Dark Eldar turn 2, I drew out Taint Them Alive, destroy something in the assault phase, along with blood and guts. Secure objective 3, hold the line, and scour the skies. Scour the skies I can't get just yet, as Josh's flyers didn't come on. I did roll for my reserves, and I chose to re-roll for my flyers, as I didn't want them to come on in front of Josh. Unfortunately, the Razor Wing still came on, but the Void Raven is off the board. So, this is how things now look all of a sudden. We've got the Razor Wing facing the Lich Guard unit over there. They are Lich Guard, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
The Venom here with the Succubus and the Incubi in, looking over at those warriors. Only one of the raiders with the warriors and Splinter Axe came in, despite the reroll. And we have the Reaper and the Ravager both having a nice view straight down at the Lich Guard, the Barge and the Monolith. Yeah, Josh likes to jink. We also have the Scourge here that have moved on from the table edge, and they've got 4 Haywire Blasters looking down at the Barge there as well. The Grotesque and the Reavers just shuffled up here. I'm hoping I can get rid of them in the assault phase, depending on how the shooting goes. Yeah, I need to roll a difficult terrain for these, but just to note that everything has came on from the board edge, nothing has deep struck. So we'll get back to you after Dark Eldar shooting phase turn 2. So I'm not at the end of the shooting phase yet. The boat here did shoot at these and managed to fail 1. So 1 Lich Guard is dead. The Succubus decided to shoot the Animus Vitae at them, and despite ballistic skill 6, she still missed. The Reaper shot and hit the Barge, and on the D3 Haywire hits I got 1. However, to damage it I rolled a 1. The Scourge, the one with the Shard Carbine, ended up having to take a difficult terrain test, failed her armor save, but then passed a Feel No Pain. And they've all just shot at the Barge, 4 Haywire Blasters, all hit, rolling 5s and 6s. And to damage, I've just rolled that. So needless to say, I'm not best pleased, but the Barge is jinking, so that's at least a bonus, I suppose. I want to finish off the rest of the shooting phase now and see what happens. So, we've moved on to the assault phase already and already done it. There wasn't much else in the shooting phase, unfortunately. The Ravager shot at the Barge, the Razor Wing shot at the Barge, and did nothing. So after all of that, only 1 whole point was glanced off it. In here, the Grotesques charged in. I ended up issuing a challenge with the Aberration against these Warlord. The Aberration did take a wound, unfortunately. The rest of the Grotesques did manage to do quite a few wounds. Unfortunately, 3 up invuns, re-rolling 1s, then reanimation protocols meant he only lost 1 Lich Guard. The Reavers did charge in, Cluster Caltrops didn't do anything, and then they've hit and run back out. So, looking at my cards, I don't secure objective 3, I do hold the line, I didn't get Take Them Alive, or Blood and Guts, or Scour the Skies. So I'm just going to roll a dice to see how many I get for Hold the Line. Actually, that is incorrect. I only score 1 victory point. So yeah, we'll move on to Necron turn 3. Right, so this is Necron turn 3. Josh didn't draw any more cards as he still had 4 cards. The flyer kit, 1 flyer came on from reserve, so that's moving up. I think he's going to go for the Razor Wing, try and get Scour the Skies. The Barge that was jinking has moved across from where the Monolith is now to there. I think he's probably going to try and take out these Raider and Venom. The Warriors in the front there teleported out from the building at the back. And the Warriors there moved up. And the Skimmers moved across there to try and take objective 5. These Warriors have also moved up. They got and say bye-bye to my Raiders and my Venom. So we'll come back after Necron shooting, turn 3. Right, end of shooting phase, Necron turn 3. The Barge over there shot at the Reavers, and they're still there. These Warriors, rapid fired over here, and didn't do anything. These warriors shot at the venom, didn't do anything. The monolith shot its pie plate over here and scattered and hit both the raider and the venom, took a whole point off each. The venom's also lost a splinter cannon. This barge, however, despite its snap shooting, got 4 hits and 4 glances, 4 glancing pens on the razor wing, and I failed 2 of them. His flyer then got rid of the razor wing, which isn't exactly good for me, but never mind. It did crash and burn, it did clip the warriors there, but only 2 of them. And as you can see, there's still 10 standing. So we're going to move on to assault phase, and we're going to see what happens over here. Right, so at the end of the assault phase, Josh actually failed his leadership test as a result of the -1 for the freakish spectacle rule on the grotesquerie, which meant he was hitting on 5s instead. As you can see, no wounds were taken at all, totally tied on both sides. In relation to cards, Josh scored secure objective 5 because of that, and Scour the Skies because he shot down my razor wing. So it's moving on to Dark Eldar turn 3. So Dark Eldar turn 3, the Void Raven arrives, and he's gunning for that, the Night Scythe. Still got the warriors here. My Succubus, the Warlord, and the Incubi have all jumped out of the venom and are looking to get stuck into them warriors. The other raider arrived and is bearing down on the warriors here. The venom, with 1 whole point that's drinking, is off over that way. The other boat just moved up a little bit. The Reaver's also moving forward, looking to hopefully assault those warriors as well. The Scourge, the Razor Wing, the Ravager and the Reaper have all stayed stationary, looking at quite a lot of armour over there. The cards that I drew, or that I have this turn, are Take Them Alive, so destroy something in the assault phase, possibly an independent character, get an extra point. Blood and Guts, destroy something in the assault phase. Destroy 3 or more enemy units, possible, not likely. Scour the Skies, I'm hoping I can get that. And Pain in all of its forms, one of the Dark Eldar ones. Score 1 victory point for destroying something in the assault phase or the shooting phase. If I destroy 1 in each phase, I get D3. So I'm hoping to shoot down the flyer and at least 1 of the vehicles, and then hopefully destroy at least 1 unit in the assault phase. So we'll see what happens in the shooting phase as to what goes on. So that wasn't too bad of a shooting phase. The Void Raven dropped its bomb and yeah, wiped out 7 warriors. They did pass the leadership test, however, so that's going to be quite a long assault. Over here, the barge has gone down to the Reaper and the Haywire Scourge. The warriors that were here took fire from this raider, rapid firing, and this raider, and they were fine. However, I then decided to snap shoot at the warriors from the Reavers, and they failed their leadership on a 10 because of the -1 from the grotesquerie, which means they fell that far back, and I'm not going to be able to assault them, I don't think. It's still worth a shot though. In relation to flying, unfortunately that is still there. I did manage to get 1 whole point off it with a pen, however I didn't roll quite high enough despite the AP value of the Void Lance. So we'll move on to the assault phase and we'll come back shortly. Right, so after the assault phase, the Succubus and the Incubi made it into combat and wiped out the 3 warriors. And then the Reavers unfortunately failed their charge of 11 inches and also lost 1 to Overwatch. Over here, meanwhile, the Necron Overlord managed to kill the Arborition. He did fail his It Will Not Die and didn't regain a wound, and as he was down on 1, unfortunately he died. In the rest of the combat, despite rolling several 2s and failing his armor saves, Josh actually managed to get all the reanimation protocols off, which means none of them are dead again. In relation to the other grotesques with the It Will Not Die, one of them regained a wound, so I've sat with 3 on 2 wounds and 2 on 3 wounds apiece. So, according to my cards, I get Take Them Alive. We get Blood and Guts, which are both destroy something in the assault phase, and then Pain in all of its forms, destroy something in the shooting phase and destroy something in the assault phase. Now, unfortunately, I didn't destroy 3 units, I only destroyed 2, so that's a D3 point for that. Let's just roll a dice and see what I get. 2, so that's 1. That means I get 3 points that turn. Moving on to now Necron turn 4. Right, so start of Necron turn 4. He's still got Dust and Ashes and Blood and Guts. However, Josh actually drew Thrall of the Silent King, which means he has to draw an additional card. And if he achieves that card, he then gets D3 additional victory points on top of the conditions for that card. He got secure objective 1. Objective 1 is here. Now, the other flyer came on automatically from reserve. However, the one facing the Void Raven has turned 90 degrees and gone off the edge of the table. The warriors have shuffled over slightly, and the monolith has moved backwards. The big blob squad of warriors that was here, however, has jumped out the front of the monolith. And that was pretty much it for the movement phase. We'll come back after shooting phase. So, shooting phase, all these warriors rapid fired into the Reavers, and despite them jinking, I only lost 1. The flyer here shot its death ray, and the, I don't remember the name of the other one, at the Incubi and the Warlord, and did nothing. The Incubi absolutely tanked all of their saves. The warriors from here also shot straight across at them, and again, tanked all of their saves. The only other shooting that's taken place so far is this barge shot across at the Reaper, getting a 3-ups cover save anyway without jinking, and it managed to save, penetrate and hit. We'll come back after Josh has done the rest of the shooting. Right, so just finishing off the Necron shooting phase, the monolith fired its pie plate and its flux arc over here, and as you can see, it did nothing. The template actually scattered way over there for 12 inches. We did move on to the combat phase, and that has happened. So although I did lose 1 grotesque, Josh actually unfortunately rolled quite a few 2s. He failed his fear test, which meant he was weapon skill 1. And obviously thanks to Shred on the grotesques along with their 6s for instant death, I took out 3 Lich Guard. The Overlord, however, did roll on the, was it the Stars of Right? And he has gone Super Saiyan, so he is more beastly than he was before, let's say. Obviously, Josh did lose combat by 1, because I took 2 wounds on one of the grotesque, and even with the -1 leadership penalty from the grotesquerie and for failing combat, he rolled a 7 and passed his leadership, so he's still in combat. So, did he achieve any cards? No, he did not. We will now move on to Dark Eldar turn 4. So, Dark Eldar turn 4, and I drew secure objective 1, secure objective 5, and no escape, make an enemy fall back. So, the Warlord and the Incubi are on objective 1. Objective 5 is over there. So, what I've done is the Raider has moved up to here, just moved its plane 12 at the minute. The other Raider has moved up again, and the Reavers have just come a little bit further forward, possibly look to take out the Warriors. The Ravager and the Reaper sat here looking quite nicely at the monolith. And the Scourge is still there as well. They can have a look at the monolith, or possibly over at the barge. The Void Raven changed its flying angle and is now facing over at the barge, looking to get a shot over on that. So after the shooting phase for Dark Eldar turn 2, the Reaper shot at the Monolith and missed again. The Ravager shot at the Monolith, got one hit and failed to even glance at it. So that was still on 3 hull points. The Void Raven shot down the barge and didn't destroy it, unfortunately. So then that left the Scourge with hairwire blasters, and I decided to shoot at the Monolith, and luckily got 2 glances in a pen, so the Monolith is now wrecked. Down here, the Raider shot at the Warriors and killed 5 of them with the Splinter Axe. Unfortunately, passed his leadership on 6, even with the -1 modifier from the Grotesquerie. Meanwhile, the other Raider flat outed up to here with ethereal sails to get objective secured on objective 5. So that pretty much just leaves this assault to go. The Reavers, however, did not fire. I haven't decided where they're going to assault just yet. Right, so at the end of the assault phase, one of my Grotesques got a wound back due to it will not die. However, I did suffer 2 wounds in return. Despite all of the Hammer of Rats rolling a 12 for the cluster caltrops on 3, and all of the poisoned wounds and shred, I only managed to do 1 wound on his Warlord, so he's now down to 3. That means that I did secure objective 1, I did secure objective 5, and I didn't get no escape. So I think I will discard no escape, and I score 2 victory points. Right, so Necrons turn 5. Josh still has Dust and Ashes and the Thrall of the Silent King, which gives him secure objective 1 as an additional card still. The Warlord's still on it. As a result of him flying a flyer off last turn, this one has came back on. The one that was there is now over here. The 2 5-man squads of warriors that are left have just shuffled up a little bit. I think he's going to try and get me off for objective 1. Just a note from the end of Dark Eldar turn 4 as well, the Reavers did hit and run back out. And the barge here has moved up. Again, forgot to mention it is on 1 hull point. I think he's going to look to snap shoot, and he wants me off objective 1. So we'll get back to after shooting phase. So Necron's shooting phase successfully killed 1 Incubi in the Clavix. The flyer shot at it, and the Incubi tanked a load of saves. These warriors just tried to run up to get close enough to secure the objective, as he was with the objective security would actually trump me, so unfortunately he didn't quite get close enough. The warriors here also shot across and did nothing. The barge over there, again, shot here, did nothing. The flyer here decided to go after the Reavers, and despite, is it the Tesla and the Death Ray, they jinked every single save. So that means that we need to move on to combat, and there's not much combat to go, so I think things are going to move pretty quickly now. Right, so the end of the assault phase, we actually drew combat. He inflicted 1 wound on a Grotesque, and I inflicted 1 wound back on him thanks to Shred and him failing these saves. Josh decided to discard Dust and Ashes because secure objective 1 is worth more due to him having the Thrall of the Silent King. So we'll move on to Dark Eldar turn 5. So Dark Eldar turn 5, I drew Kingslayer and Ascendancy, control 3 objectives. Now that should be pretty easy. I have started shuffling things around. My Succubus and Incubi are still on objective 1. The Venom that was hiding over there is now getting Line Breaker and securing objective 2. The Raider that's over here, I have moved just in front of the objectives so that I'm within 24 inches of these warriors. I did move the Reaper up, it's snap shooting anywhere due to jinking last turn, so that is also getting that one, so that's 4 that I currently hold. Just shuffled the Reavers up a little bit, and obviously the boat of warriors is there. Nothing else has really moved, so we'll now move on to shoot. So Dark Eldar shooting phase turn 5, this happened. Yeah. The raider from over there shot at the warriors, took a couple of them out. This raider shot at them warriors and took all but one out. And the venom over there, because it didn't jink last turn, managed to actually take the last one of them out. The disintegrator cannon on this raider killed the remaining warrior that was there from the poison shots from it. The Scourge managed to blast the remaining barge. So all that's left is 2 flyers and the Overlord. So let's see what happens. So, as you can probably see, Josh's Warlord is no more. The Reavers charged in, did a wound to the cluster caltrops, and the Grotesquerie re-rolling because of shred. All the poison shots, poison wounds rather, eventually took them out. They did consolidate, so I've just shuffled them around a little bit. He did do 3 wounds on the Grotesque, so 3 of them are now down onto 1 wound. So that means I score Slayer the Warlord, I score Kingslayer, and Ascendancy. So, for Kingslayer, I get 3 points. For Ascendancy, I get, I'll re-roll that, 1 point, and that's because I control objective 1, 2, 3, and 5. So that is 1, 3, and 4 points altogether. If the game continues, I will get Line Breaker. Josh, would you care to roll for if the game continues? It does. However,
I can't be asked. There is no point.
Yeah, Josh has 2 flyers remaining, so
On the bright side, you physically cannot table them.
with enough turns I probably could, but
You've got 2 things that could
Good
actually
game.
hit them and hurt them.
good game.